December 31st of this year, 2025, will make 5 years since I left my corporate job, and I can hardly believe it. That time went so fast, but I've learned a lot of lessons since then, and I've had a lot of time to think about my time on my corporate job of nearly 22 years. So I want to share today a few things that I wish I knew before leaving my corporate job. Let's get into it. But before we do, if you haven't already, please subscribe, please like, please share. We are on the ground floor of this thing, and we do not despise small beginnings, but please make sure you subscribe, okay? Let's get right into it. Number one, things I wish I knew before I left my corporate job. I wish I would have maximized the benefits offered on the job. Maximized is the key word, because I participated, I participated in the, 401k plan. I participated in, I had, the medical benefits and all of that. However, maximizing is the key word here. If you think about, a lot of us, we don't even read the employee manual. We do not dig deep into what is this company offering me as an employee that can benefit me not only as an employee, but as a person, because we're making an exchange here. I'm giving my time, my skill, my value, my know-how, etc., my experience in fulfilling this role that I'm in, and they're paying me a salary plus benefits for most jobs. Most of us do not maximize those benefits. Let's start with like retirement accounts. If your company has a retirement account that you can participate in, please do, and participate in it on the maximum level that you can based on your budget. Now, that means that you need to have a budget first. For those of you all who don't know, I did write a book, a money memoir, talking about my financial journey and learning, having worked in the financial industry for over 20 years, and things that I learned as a person that did not come from money or have a family that, they knew a little something, but not a lot. So I had to really kind of get it out the mud with learning about financial literacy. So I did write a book, if you didn't know that, called Winning: A Practical Guide to Living Your Best Financial Life. And I will leave the link in the description. But that's not what this is about. What this is about is making sure that you maximize where you are, the benefits that are offered to you. So for your retirement accounts, you should at minimum be contributing the percentage that the company will match. So if it's 6%, if it's 3%, whatever it is that the company will match, you would need to make sure that you are at least participating in your 401k your 401k plan or any other equivalent retirement plan to the amount that the company is matching. Because if you don't, you're leaving free money on the table. You're leaving free money on the table if you do not participate at all because you think you can't afford it, or you're thinking, oh, I'm too young to even be thinking about retirement. This is the time. If you are on your first job, like you're in your 20s and you're fresh out of college and this is your first real job or whatever, this is the time. This is when you start. Just make it a habit. Always participate, because this is how you get to the point where you have 6-7 figures plus saved by the time you do hit retirement. Okay, that's one. And of course, you need to have a budget in order to determine how much you can actually contribute to your retirement plan on your job, okay? But at minimum, it needs to be whatever the percentage that the company matches, okay? I did do that, but let me tell you where my misstep was. I got I was one of those that maybe looked a little too often at the market because that was the industry that I was in at the time. And now that wasn't my background before I started working there. So I had to learn a lot about the financial industry, the stock market, the investments, all of that on the job because I'm a writer. My degree is in news editorial journalism. So I did not come from that world. I did not know much at all before starting to work at that company. So when I saw the ebbs and flows of the stock market, especially early on, I would stop investing. I got afraid, especially I believe it was back in like the crash of, 08 or whatever, the housing market crash. Everything is connected, right? So I pulled out. I stopped having the regular percent that I had going in, taken out of my check, going into my 401k to be invested in these particular investments. I stopped it because I got afraid because I saw my accounts drop so much, and that was the wrong thing to do. Listen to me. When the stock market goes down, okay, now this is just me here. I'm not giving you investment advice, but this is a basic principle, okay? When the stock market goes down, do not panic, especially if you are holding long-term investments like in a retirement account. Do not panic. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. Basically, you continue to allow your money to go into the 401k plan or 403b or whatever it is, okay? And all that means is that you're getting those stocks on sale. Because the stock market, go and research for yourself, it ebbs and flows. We talked about life on the earlier video about the roller coaster of life. Stock market is a roller coaster. It will be affected by any and everything. It will be affected by politics. It will be affected by who's the new CEO of this, that, the other company. It will be affected by any and everything. You have to be ready to go on that roller coaster ride. If you pull out at a time that the market drops, then number one, not only are you stuck at where you lost the money, but you're also no longer participating in where you can actually not only get back to where you were, but exceed where you were. Because again, if you're still investing money and the stocks are now lower, you can get the stocks for a lower cost per share. And then when they go back up, who's winning? Who's winning? Okay. I made the mistake of I pulled out for I don't know how long. It might have been a year or two. Like I was just nervous. I did not understand that principle at the time. Once I understood it, I was able to fully participate and fully maximize and benefit. Okay. So that's one thing. Even stuff like your medical benefits, know what you are paying for by participating in your medical plan at your job and fully maximize it. For example, it's not just for, okay, if you have a pre-existing condition, yes, we get that, okay. But it's not only for, annual checkups like I utilized it for, but it's other things like, okay, my teeth started shifting. I did not know until the 12th hour that part of my medical benefits, they would pay for part as an adult of me getting braces or Invisalign. I did not know that until the last minute. So learn what benefits are a part of your package. You're paying for the medical benefits. Look into that. They have mental health features in the medical benefits. Take advantage of that. Go get some therapy. A lot of these benefit packages, the medical benefits also include stuff like chiropractic work. Okay, so you can go to the chiropractor and get some, the dermatologist, whatever you need. Look into it and see what is offered to you because it is part of your compensation. Okay, I wish I had taken more advantage of the different things that were a part of my medical benefit packages as well. How about continuing education benefits? A lot of companies offer where they will pay for you to get certain certifications. They'll pay for you to get another degree. Now, you gotta, there's usually an exchange. You got the tuition reimbursement, and usually there is something, a time frame to that. Like, that means that once you get the degree or the certification or whatever it is that the company pays for, you're agreeing to stay with the company for a number of years after obtaining that degree, because they want to get the benefit of that increased knowledge that you've gained. But think about it. If you get an additional degree, even if you leave the company after that 3-year period, 2-year period, whatever it is, you still have that degree. So look into every benefit that the company is offering. The other thing is that now that I'm on the other side of entrepreneurship, it takes a lot, especially if a company has a great benefits package. That's a great thing. And it takes a lot. They are paying. You're paying for a part of it, but they're sharing in the cost of you having access as an employee for those benefit packages. So you don't have to take advantage of it, but you absolutely should. You absolutely should, especially by starting with knowing what is available to you, okay? So that is something that I wish I had known and taken advantage of, fully maximizing the benefits offered by the company. Okay, number 2, learn what, and I'm looking at my notes, y'all know. Learn what it means to be a boss or an employer, even if you are only an employee. Learn what it means. Put yourself in the shoes of the employer, especially if you have higher or different aspirations than what you are currently doing. It will only benefit you to learn the business that you are in, even if you do not plan to ultimately go into that business, but that's the business that you're in now. Get as much knowledge as you can get about what it takes to run that business, that corporation, what it takes to lead a business or a corporation like that. That can only benefit you. So don't just think I'm an employee and let me just do my job. Let me just get through the day. No, you're in school. My mother always says this, actually. She says, you're always in school. I'm always learning. You're always soaking up knowledge. But if you spend your time wishing that you weren't there, if you spend your time just criticizing or being in a space of just a funky mood, a funky mood, because again, you may not like your job. I happen to like my job. I like the people I worked with. I really could not complain about the company I worked for or the people I worked with. I was very blessed in that way. But I do know a lot of people that absolutely just, they have a horrible experience on their job. But do you know that the experience that you're having on your job starts with you and your mindset, your mentality? I guarantee you, even if the people and the company is trash, if you change your mindset, you will have a better experience there, and you'll be able to fully maximize and glean what you need to glean from that place and the whole experience. And then you will ultimately be released to move on to something bigger and better. But if you have a bad attitude, you're in a place of a lack of gratitude for the things that you can be grateful for there. And you do have to look for those things, especially if you are having a struggle on the job. You have to consciously and specifically look for the things that you can be grateful for. Look for the things that you can actually get out of the experience. This is what I wish I had known when I was on the job. So I wouldn't have wasted any amount of time either complaining or just, in my case, it was more so I had other aspirations. And because of my other aspirations, I couldn't fully be present in the moment. That is not a way to live. You're getting up, going to the job every day. Be fully present. Be fully engaged. Bloom where you are while you're there. And then move on. Also, don't waste your time complaining about something that you're not taking action to change. If you're not going to take the proper, appropriate actions to change the situation, i.e., make your exit, find a way to make your exit, or find a different position within go for a promotion, whatever it is, whatever that looks like. If you're not going to do anything to change your situation, then stop complaining. You got to start there, because you're wasting your energy, you're wasting your breath, and you're wasting time. You could be learning, you could be fully maximizing, you could be doing an excellent job that will position you to be promoted up and then out of there. Okay? All right. Learning what it takes to be a boss. So that the other part of that is educating yourself on the responsibility and the structure that's needed and the benefits of being a boss. There's both sides of it. There's definitely benefits to being a boss, but there's a huge amount of responsibility, even if it's only a boss to yourself, even if you don't have employees under you yet. There's a responsibility that comes with it. There's a structure that comes with it. There's a mindset that comes with it. Let's talk about that. What I wish I had known before I left my corporate job was that I was going to have to go through a significant mindset change and shift from employer to employee. Now that just may seem, like a no-brainer, but it's really not. A lot of people don't consciously realize how huge of a mindset shift that is. Think about it. It's the difference between when you are in your parents' home as a child, as a teenager. They are providing, if we're talking about standard, traditional, good parents, they are providing everything for you. The roof over your head, the food in your stomach, the clothes on your back, safety, anything that comes up, your parents are covering it, they're managing it. If you need something for school, whatever you need, your parents are the ones that figure out a way to provide it. You have it by just being under your parents' umbrella, right? You're under their care. Your employer is your umbrella as an employee, whether you realize it or not. They are your umbrella. So that means that they are providing certain things for you as an employee that you don't have to think about. If you get a certain amount of days for most jobs, okay, you get a certain amount of vacation days, personal days, and or sick days. You are still paid for those days for most traditional corporate jobs. I'm speaking on the corporate level. I don't know about, I know this different for different things. If you're an hourly worker, there may be something different. But for on the corporate level, these are things, even on a governmental level, these are things that come with being an employee. If you take a vacation, your check is not going to be short, because you get so many vacation days as a benefit. When you are not an employee, but you are the employer, if you don't work, if you go on vacation, you are not getting paid for that. Unless you are doing business at the same time as you are doing vacation, or you're splitting that time. But otherwise, if you go on vacation and there's no work happening, this is just purely a vacation, you are not being paid for that unless you also have passive income where business is continuing on, money is continuing to be made whether you're there or not. Now, that's the place you want to get to as a person who is, whether you're a creative entrepreneur or just any type of other entrepreneur, a small business owner, a large business owner, whatever. You want the ship to keep cranking out them coins, whether you are actively doing work there or not on this particular day. As an employee, you didn't have to think about that. You just have to make sure that your responsibilities were covered by the people that are either working under you, if you're a manager, or whether your colleagues, your co-workers are covering your responsibilities while you're out. That's all you had to be concerned about. It's not like that when you are the boss, when you are the owner, the employer. That is a complete mindset shift. As the boss, as the employer, you have to have the vision, and I'm jumping around a little bit because it's getting a little long. You have to have the long-term vision. That's my next one. I wish before I left my job that I had been more intentional by having a specific long-term vision, not only for my career, but for my life. What do I mean by that for myself? For me specifically, you hear about business plans, right? Every business should have a business plan. Write the vision, make it plain. That's what a business plan is. It is getting specific into the details of what your business is, how you're going to make money, everything about your business, okay? You are forecasting what this business is, what I want it to do, and the feasibility of doing those things. The vision of the business, the mission of the business. For me personally, my businesses that I co-founded with my mother, who is my business partner, it came out of ministry. So while I'm working my corporate job, I'm also involved in ministry at church, okay? A pretty significant church, right? So I'm doing ministry work there. The ministry work that I'm doing there in the arts, in the drama ministry, out of that, we co-founded a arts nonprofit, a 501c3 nonprofit, which is a type of business. If you don't know, a 501c3 nonprofit cannot be owned by an individual. It cannot be owned, okay? It can be founded, co-founded, but it cannot be owned, okay? So we also created a for-profit, an LLC, a production company. So those two businesses, I already had that while I was still on my job and doing work on it. But think about it, in those instances, we're doing work and having impact, but it's a different energy when you're just doing it on the side. There's not a pressure on it to produce revenue for you, even though it was, but it wasn't a press because I had my regular job. Completely different mindset than you are now fully working those businesses full time. So that means as the boss, you need to have that vision. You need to know how the company is going to function and how is it going to be profitable, impactful, and profitable. If you don't have that vision, and it's not only for business or companies or your career, it's for your life. You have to have a vision for your life. If you don't have a vision plan for your life, you are going to find that day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year will keep going, and you are not accomplishing anything. You will eventually look back on your life and like, what was I intentional about my life, my purpose? Did I even go on a quest of trying to discover what my purpose is, or rediscover? Because the way my spiritual beliefs are set up, I believe that we came to the planet for a reason, God sent for a reason, and that part of life's journey is rediscovering that reason for being sent here in the first place. That's what I believe. Having a vision, having a plan, a long-term vision. For me, again, those were things that I tend to run by the seat of my pants. I'm like, I have an idea. Okay, this is what I want to do. This is what, okay, can I get the team on board with this? Da 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 da. As opposed to having a pre-existing plan. And yes, eventually that is what we did. But initially it was, I would say, very organic. It wasn't very well, like, specifically written down, like, this is what we're doing and this is why we're doing it. It just continued on from the work that we were already doing in ministry. Okay. It's the same thing with it, even with the project. I just finished up a documentary. Me and my team, we finished a documentary. But years ago, when we worked on this documentary, it's been a 10-year journey at this point. Years ago, I created a production Bible. Shout out to Robert Townsend. It's his, I got that from him. A production Bible, which had all about the project, what I wanted it to be, who I wanted it to be involved, all of the different elements of this documentary film, this project. Okay. Now, because it's been so long, it's like, man, you can start getting so frustrated and discombobulated, and when things are not going as planned, then sometimes you can get off track. That's when you go back to your vision, your guide. And we can even say for our lives, for those of us who are believers, the Bible is our guide. It is the vision. It is the guide that we go back to, especially when we find ourselves getting off track. That being said, let me hurry up. Prepare for things not to go as planned. That's something I wish I would have known before I left my job. Things will not go as planned. Prepare for that mentally, financially, material, every way that you can. Prepare for things not to go as planned. Prepare for the worst case scenario and hope and pray for the best case scenario. But prepare. Think about, okay, if this, then that. That is part of the vision. That's part of the forward thinking, that, okay, if we needed to pivot, if this happens this way or this doesn't happen this way, what would be the solution? What would be the resolution? That's the other thing. As a person that is, if you're currently working a job, and you want to leave, transition because you have other ambitions or you want to go into entrepreneurship, act like that job is your business. Be entrepreneurial minded on the job. That means having a solution oriented mindset. If this was your business, what would you do if you weren't just an employee? If your position, if your job was your business, how would you manage it? What would you do? How would you proactively manage that job? I wish I had been thinking about my job that way while I was on the job. And I was not, because again, I was too busy having my other visions or thinking about whatever and doing. And I did well on the job, especially for me, like really like, dude, I'm a creative in this kind of numbers world, you know. I write all about that in the book, by the way. But it wasn't until I changed my mindset that I feel like spiritually I was released. But don't get me wrong, the journey continues. It is a never-ending journey of learning, of discovering, of educating yourself, of getting better organized, more resilient, of building character. It is an ongoing journey. And I'm still on it. I'm still making my way. And it's not easy all the time, but I am grateful for the lessons. I'm grateful for this last 5 years. And I truly do believe the best is yet to come. So if you made it all the way through to the end, because we are about 30 minutes in, then I appreciate you for being here. Please leave a comment. Let me know, are you someone who you're working a job and you have other aspirations? What is your present mindset? Did any of this resonate with you? If you're currently an entrepreneur, especially if you're a creative entrepreneur like I am, I want to hear from you in the comments section. Let me know your thoughts about all of this, okay? All right, and any other things you want to share that you would add to this video. I appreciate it. Bye.